What happens when a legendary comedian known for pushing boundaries faces off against a late-night host determined to test his limits? Eddie Murphy was expecting a friendly chat, but Jimmy Kimmel had other plans. Plans that would ignite a confrontation nobody saw coming. Would Eddie handle the pressure, or would the tension shatter their mutual respect forever? Stay tuned, because this is one explosive late-night interview you won't forget. The studio buzzed with excitement. Audience members exchanged memories of Eddie's legendary performances, laughter filling the room as the warm-up comedian joked about Eddie's famous roles. As Jimmy entered, the lights dimmed slightly. His opening monologue was sharp but unusually edged, hinting at something more provocative ahead. Tonight, Jimmy announced with a playful smirk, we have a man whose comedy was so bold it once set fire to stages everywhere. Now he's lighting up screens as friendly cartoon animals. Quite the career shift, wouldn't you say? The audience laughed, some sensing an edge behind Jimmy's humor. Eddie walked onto the stage moments later, his presence confident yet relaxed, wearing a crisp black suit. Jimmy greeted him warmly, though with a subtle tension. Welcome back, Eddie. Great to have you here. Let's dive straight in. You've had quite the transformation from raw to family-friendly roles. Do you miss pushing the envelope? Eddie smiled calmly. Jimmy, pushing the envelope is subjective. Back then, it meant something different. Today, maybe the envelope needs less pushing and more thoughtful opening. Jimmy chuckled lightly, but pressed further. Come on, though. People loved your edge. Don't you feel you've watered yourself down? Eddie maintained his calm demeanor. I think I've evolved. I'm not interested in making the same jokes at 60 that I made at 20. Comedy isn't static. Jimmy nodded, eyes twinkling mischievously. Fair enough. But do you ever worry people think you've lost your bite? Eddie leaned forward slightly, smiling knowingly. People's opinions have never dictated my creativity. Maybe that's why I'm still here. Jimmy raised an eyebrow, the tension subtly increasing. And yet, isn't pleasing the audience what it's all about? Not if it means losing authenticity. Eddie shot back gently but firmly, prompting murmurs in the audience. Jimmy shifted slightly, sensing the conversation was becoming more intense. Authenticity is important, he agreed. But let's talk specifics. Some critics argue your early material hasn't aged well. Do you regret some of your jokes now? Eddie paused thoughtfully. I think everyone has things they regret. Comedy reflects its time. But I've owned my past, grown from it, and I won't pretend those moments didn't happen. Jimmy leaned closer, his tone sharpening. Some people feel those jokes did real harm. How do you respond? Eddie's expression became serious. Comedy holds a mirror to society. Sometimes the reflection isn't pretty. I've never shied away from accountability, but let's not rewrite history selectively. Those jokes were part of a broader conversation. Jimmy interjected quickly. But some say it wasn't your conversation to have. Eddie looked directly at Jimmy. Comedy has always been my conversation to have. If society evolves, comedians evolve with it. That's growth, not retreat. The audience grew silent, tension palpable. Jimmy pressed again, visibly pushing Eddie. But some fans feel betrayed. You went from groundbreaking to mainstream. Do you see why they might feel that way? Fans feeling betrayed implies I owe them stagnation, Eddie countered calmly. True fans respect the journey, even if it changes. Jimmy frowned slightly. Or perhaps they just miss the fearless Eddie. I haven't lost my courage, Jimmy, Eddie said firmly, voice carrying authority. I've just learned different ways to use it. Jimmy leaned back, a forced smile playing on his lips. Different ways or safer ways? Eddie's eyes narrowed slightly. Safe? It's easy to criticize from behind a desk. Have you ever had your entire career judged by every word you said decades ago? Jimmy stiffened, clearly uncomfortable. We all face scrutiny. But not everyone faces scrutiny like comedians do, Eddie pressed. Comedy isn't about perfection. It's about truth. Truth evolves, you should know that. Jimmy's voice tightened, defensive. This isn't about me. Eddie raised an eyebrow. It feels like you're projecting your insecurities onto my journey. Jimmy bristled. Insecurities? Hardly. I'm just asking the questions the public wants answered. Maybe the public deserves better questions. Eddie retorted sharply. Jimmy stood abruptly, visibly frustrated. If you think you're above questions, maybe this wasn't the right place for you. Eddie stood calmly. Questions I respect. Ambushes I don't. Jimmy stepped toward Eddie, voice raised slightly as his usually calm demeanor fractured visibly. Ambush? Eddie, come on, that's not fair. You're here to discuss your career openly, not dodge every uncomfortable question. Eddie remained firm, his voice steady yet laced with disappointment. I never dodge questions, Jimmy, but there's a difference between genuine curiosity and a calculated attempt to undermine someone's legacy. If honesty was your real intention, we'd be having a different conversation. Jimmy's irritation became more apparent as his voice edged closer to anger. If honesty offends you, Eddie, maybe you've been too sheltered by your recent success to handle genuine critique. Eddie shook his head slowly, his eyes reflecting both frustration and disbelief. Honesty doesn't offend me, Jimmy. Dishonesty does. And pretending to seek truth while chasing viral moments? That's dishonest. The audience sat frozen, barely breathing, eyes darting between Eddie and Jimmy as the tension crackled through the air. Eddie took a deliberate step toward the audience, shifting the energy away from Jimmy. To everyone watching right now, especially those trying to find their own voice, let tonight serve as a lesson. Never allow someone else to control or distort your narrative. Your story and your growth are yours alone to define. Jimmy, visibly flustered and attempting to regain control, interjected hastily, "Walking away won't change the facts, Eddie. It just means you're unwilling to confront them." Eddie paused mid-step, turning back slowly, eyes narrowed slightly in controlled anger. I confront facts every day, but what you presented tonight weren't facts. They were provocations. And I don't owe anyone, especially you, a performance in response to disrespect. With a dignified nod toward the audience, Eddie continued his exit, leaving the stage silent, stunned, and then erupting into a wave of applause and supportive cheers. Jimmy stood momentarily speechless, the weight of the confrontation visibly hitting him. Backstage, crew members glanced at each other nervously, knowing they had just witnessed an unprecedented moment in late-night history. Producers scrambled to manage the immediate aftermath, frantically communicating over their headsets, uncertain how to proceed as the audience's applause lingered, ringing in Jimmy's ears like an indictment. As Eddie vanished behind the curtain, the reality of what had just occurred rippled across the entertainment world like an unstoppable wave. Backstage, Eddie took a moment, breathing deeply, calming himself while receiving immediate support from his team. He knew the significance of this moment would extend far beyond tonight's broadcast. Jimmy retreated backstage as well, his demeanor shifting from defiance to introspection. Alone in his dressing room, he reviewed immediate online reactions flooding in on his phone, each notification amplifying the growing sense of dread in his chest. On social media, the discourse exploded. Hashtags like #Eddie Murphy, #RespectEddie, and #LateNightMeltdown trended globally. Within hours, celebrities and comedians from all corners of the industry weighed in. Eddie reminded us tonight that respect and growth go hand in hand. Trevor Noah posted shortly afterward, "Real courage isn't always loud. Tonight, Eddie Murphy showed why true comedians never sacrifice authenticity." Opinion pieces filled online publications, dissecting every moment of the interview. Media analysts criticized Jimmy's aggressive stance, accusing him of exploiting controversy for ratings. Others, however, debated the role that comedians have in addressing past mistakes, arguing Jimmy's confrontation was valid, albeit harshly delivered. Late into the night, Eddie finally responded on Instagram, offering simple but profound words. "Comedy grows because people do. Own your past, but never let it own you." The post quickly went viral, drawing millions of interactions and becoming a rallying cry for artistic authenticity and growth. Meanwhile, Jimmy faced intense criticism. Producers held emergency meetings discussing potential public apologies and damage control strategies. Rumors emerged that network executives were displeased, pressing Jimmy to publicly address the controversy and perhaps even make amends with Eddie publicly. The next day, multiple talk shows and podcasts dissected the event in detail. Fans debated fiercely online, highlighting deep-rooted conversations about accountability, creativity, and respect within entertainment. Eddie's dignified stance resonated with younger comedians, many praising his refusal to be boxed into outdated perceptions. Jimmy's next live show opened somberly, addressing the previous night's fallout openly. He expressed regret for the tone and admitted he misjudged the line between tough questions and disrespect. "I learned something important last night," Jimmy confessed sincerely, "that challenging someone's past should never mean disregarding their journey of growth." The public reflection earned mixed reactions, but indicated a necessary shift in the cultural conversation about comedy, authenticity, and accountability. Eddie Murphy's quiet yet powerful stand became a turning point, a pivotal moment reminding everyone that comedy isn't just laughter, it's integrity, respect, and continual growth. The confrontation between Eddie Murphy and Jimmy Kimmel became a watershed moment. Eddie's unwavering dignity under pressure and Jimmy's reckoning with his approach sparked significant discussions industry-wide. This unforgettable night demonstrated clearly that true comedy isn't merely about jokes, but about the courage to grow and evolve authentically. What do you think about Eddie's decision? Did Jimmy cross a line, or did the exchange illuminate deeper truths? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories where comedy meets real-life lessons.